Hey guys, welcome back to another Legend 4 tutorial. In today's video, I'm showing you how to create a footprint system so that your player is going to leave footprints in the snow, in the mud, or in literally anything that you want. You can customize this. You're basically just going to change the texture to make it look different. So if you want it in snow, mud, grass, sand, it can be anything you want. You can just change the texture. And in the future, if you want, I can make it a dynamic one so that you can have it so you have all of those textures and it will change depending on what material or what surface you're standing on. So let me know if you want that. But I'll show you what we've got today. So today we have snow, so we're going to be running, and you can see we're going to be leaving snowy footprints behind us. Now this doesn't look too realistic, as obviously we're on concrete, but you can change this to obviously be on an actual snowy texture, snowy material if you want. And you can also see that the footprints are leaving behind us, so they are despawning after us, and we can increase that so it's not as quick. But the reason we're doing that is basically because if we have too many of these in, it will lag out the game a lot. But again, you can increase that. So I've just set it to 5 seconds just for a tester so we can see it working, see it in action. But you can increase that a lot, obviously, as you wouldn't want it this quick. But this works perfectly, and you can see that we have these snowy footprints here, which look great. Again, you can make them look a lot better with different textures and all that good stuff. So I'll get right into it and show you how we're going to do this. So now that I've deleted all the code, what I'm going to do is the first step is we're going to import our textures that we want to use. So I've created just two very simple footsteps that we have here, so you can drag and drop these in, and I'll leave a link to these in the description down below. So they're just two very simple ones that I just made in Photoshop. So I just got a copyright-free picture of a footprint in snow, deleted the background, replaced it with black, so just cut it out, and then what I did is I just flipped it. So to get the left one, I just flipped it, so it's the reverse for right. Obviously you can choose your own, so you can have an actual left and an actual right, but this works great. As you can see, it just looks like a left and right foot. So one other thing we need to do in here, so open up the textures, what we're going to do is we're just going to delete this black background. So I got rid of the black because obviously this is an actual picture, so this was in snow, so I had to cut it out around the edge where I think the footprint would have been. And then if I just hit the chroma key texture here, change the color, hit the eyedrop tool to be black, hit OK, we're going to get rid of the background there. So now we just have just the footprint here. We'll do the same on the left as well. Chroma key texture true, select the color, eyedrop tool, black, OK. And now we have that like that, two transparent backgrounds for our footprints. And we just close them like so. Then what we want to do is we want to create the material for this. So we've got the texture, now we want to create the material. So with these both still selected, we're going to right click on them, and we're going to create material. And you can see we have two materials like that. Hit enter, open both of those up at the same time like so. Now all we want to do in here is we just want to make it so we can use this on a decal, as that is what we're using to do this, we're using decals. So in the bottom left down here, we're going to change the blend mode from opaque to translucent, and then the material domain from surface to deferred decal like that. RGB going in the base color, the alpha here going in opacity. That one doesn't matter too much as we've already deleted the background, but it's good to have it in there anyway. Do that, hit save, and apply, and we should be able to see it come up in this preview here once it's applied, so I'll get back to you once that's happened. And yeah, I didn't think it would. As you can see, we can't really see it just because of how we've set it up, because of how translucent it is, but this does work. You just can't see the preview here, but it is just the footprint which we saw in the texture. So we can just close that and do the same in the other one. Move it out, have it from blend mode opaque to translucent, material domain to deferred decal, put the alpha in there, save and apply that, and then that is them done. That's the materials set up, as that's all we need to do. We just need to make it so we can use this in a decal. So then the next step, so we can close that. What we want to do is we want to actually create these decals that we're going to use. So I'm going to do this in blueprints, in a blueprint actor, sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, get blueprint class, and get an actor. I'm just going to name this one footprint underscore R underscore BP, like that. So this is my right footprint blueprint. Open that up like so. I'll make the left one after this, as I can just duplicate it to have the exact same settings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a component and get a decal, like so. And you just keep it as the name of decal. One thing we want to do in here is we want to change the rotation on the Y to be -90. So that way it's actually on the ground. And also the rotation on the X, I want to change to 90 as well, so that my footprint is then facing forwards. And that will then work great for me. So obviously if you're using a different texture, you might want to change the X, but the Y will always be -90. So sorry, I put that as 90. Well, it is -90, so always facing the floor. And the scale, we're just going to leave it 1. We're going to change that afterwards. But the Y actually, sorry, we're going to change to 0.75. Because again, that's specific for my texture. Otherwise, 111 just stretches out a little too much. So change this to be perfect for your texture. And one final thing we want to do in here is down under this decal here. So change the material to be our footprint R matte, so our right footprint. And then you can see here we have fade start delay. This is basically how long it's going to take before it fades out. So like I say, I'm going to put this at about 10 seconds. That's just for testing so we can see it working. But you might want to increase this to maybe 30 seconds or a minute or anything like that. But just make sure that you're aware that any time between those 30 seconds or that minute or however long you have it, other ones are going to be spawning. And the more decals that you have in your level, the laggier it will get. So we don't want too many in, which is why we're despawning it. We're not going to leave them there forever so it doesn't lag our game. But all that's doing at the moment is that's just fading it, so they will still be there. But you see down here we have destroy owner after fade ticked. You're going to want to make sure that is ticked, so leave it ticked, so that once it's faded, it's going to destroy the actor as well, meaning it is no longer there. So it's going to fade out and then get destroyed. And you can change the fade duration as well, so that's at 0, so at the moment that is just going to cut out. So I might put that as 5 as well, so it's not just going to suddenly disappear, it's going to fade out nice and smooth. So 10 seconds after they've spawned in, it's going to take 5 seconds to completely fade out, so it will look really nice. So you can customize that to be perfect for you as well. You can also fade in, but I'm not going to worry about that as I just want them to spawn in directly under the player's foot. So that works perfectly. That's going to be great for us. So we'll compile and save that. That is that part done, so we can close that. Then if we right click on this blueprint here, and we're going to duplicate this, and I'm going to call this one footprint L BP, so our left footprint this time. And you can open that up as well. And because we've duplicated it, we've still got all these settings. So we're going to keep all those settings the same, we're just going to change the material. So instead of footprint R, we're going to change it to footprint L. Compile and save that. Close it. That's all we need to do in there. So now what we want to do is we want to create the references to where we actually want to spawn these decals. So obviously they want to be directly under our feet. So we're going to open up our character blueprint. So for me, that's third person BP, blueprints, third person character, as that's what I'm using, but you can have first person, third person, or whatever you've named it. So once we're in here, we're going to go straight up to the viewport like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply create something under the player's feet for a reference. So I'm going to add a component. I'm just going to add a plane like so. And I'll name this one foot L. So left foot like so. Drag and drop it onto the mesh to parent it to the mesh like that. Parent socket, we're going to search for foot L. So the left foot like so. And you can see this is going to move perfectly in sync with the left foot as well. So wherever the left foot goes, this plane will go as well. So we can just rotate this so it's flat like so. And just move it to be perfectly with the foot. So we're also going to scale this down a little bit as well. So I might just do that. And then we'll just put it down under the foot like that. So you can see we have the foot there. And you don't need to be too precise. Just make sure that it's basically at the bottom of the foot, but not too far so it's not under the ground. Just have it just a little bit above the foot like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that. So Control C, Control V. And now we've got foot R. So our right foot. Again, parent that to the mesh, parent socket this time being foot R, and then do the exact same process. So just move it onto this foot here, so that we now have a reference to where this foot is, so we know where the footprint should be spawning. As we want to spawn it directly underneath the player's foot, as that's where the footprint would spawn in real life. So you can see, now we have these two there. So it kind of look like the player's wearing some weird clown shoes. So to make sure that the player can't actually see that, we're just going to change some things. So actually I should have done this before duplicating it, but it doesn't matter too much. It'll only take us an extra 10 seconds. So make sure you select them. Actually, I should probably select them both at the same time. Yeah, that'll save some time. So select both of the foot references that we have there. Go down under collision. We're going to untick generate overlap events. We're going to can character step up on no. Collision presets, no collision. So now they're not going to collide with anything, so they're basically not there. And then also hidden in game, we're going to tick. So there's no collision and we can't see them. So as far as the player is aware, they do not exist. So now just to check, we'll select the foot L like that. Foot R, it's like that as well. So that's worked perfectly. We can compile and save that. So now we know where we want to spawn the footprints. Now we need to actually tell the code when to spawn them. So we've got where we want to spawn them. Now we need when we want to spawn them. So to do that, we're going to use animation notifies. We're going to minimize this and we're going to go to our animations folder. So for me, that's content, mannequin, animations. Now I want to do this just on the running animation, but you can do this on literally anything you want. It's the exact same process. So if you want it to be when you jump, so obviously when you're landing, when you're standing still, or when you're running, when you're walking, anything like that, it will work the same way. You can do this as well. But for the moment, I just want to do it on the run, as that's the only animation I'm using. So open up the animations you want to do, and then just pause it. So as you can see, we're running. And what we're going to do is we're just going to move this slider along and see where the foot hits the ground. So if I move it here, you see the foot is on the ground. Move over here, you see the foot's on the ground. So that's obviously where we want the footprint to spawn. So if I go right back to the start of the animation, you can see the footprint. It's not really on the ground there, so I probably won't count that. Yeah, well, I won't count that because it's at the end as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this along the timeline until I get to where I want. So there, I think the foot's hit the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on here, add notify. I'm going to hit new notify. I'm going to call this one footprint. What leg's this? This is right footprint R. Making sure that that is where I want it. If it's not there for you, you can just drag it along until you get it where you want. So make sure that you hit that when the foot hits the ground. Carry on moving this down the timeline, and it's hit again. So right click, add notify, new notify, footprint L. Now since we've done that, we won't need to make them again. We can now, if we want to, so in other animations, right click, add notify, skeleton notifies, and we have them there. So I'll show you in another animation as well, just to show you. But as you can see, this will work perfectly. So the player's going to be running, their foot hits the ground there, so it's going to tell the code, this is when we want to spawn one. It's going to carry on running, foot will hit the ground there again, it's going to tell the code, this is where we want to spawn the other one. So it's going to do that every time we're running. So I can save and close that, as that's what I want to do in there. Now if I open up the walking one as well, just to show you, you can see if I pause it again, go to side on view, the foot's on the ground there, but we see that it starts on the ground, so you'd want one there. So you can just right click, add notify, skeleton notifies, footprint L, and you can move along like that. So you don't need to create a new one each time, as we've now made these. So that will work for me, but like I say, I'm only doing the run. But again, same process, and it's not any extra work in the code afterwards, as it will work the same way. So once you've done all that you want to do, we're going to open up our animation blueprint. So again, for me, this is third person and in BP. And then once you're in here, you want to go straight over to the event graph, like so. In here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get event blueprint begin play. Off of this, I'm going to cast to my character. So I'm going to cast to third person character, whatever it is for you, first, third, whatever you've named it. Object is obviously get player character, like so. And I'm just going to right click, add third person character, promote this to a variable, and call this character reference, like so. Then down underneath this, I'm going to right click again, get an anim notify, as that's what we were using. We're using animation notifies. Then we're going to get anim notify footprint L. So we have this event here. So whenever that animation notify is called, so it's notified, it's going to fire off this event. So we've got footprint L, and then I'm just going to drag and drop a reference to our character reference there. Right click, anim notify footprint R. And do the same thing. And we'll come back to this code in a minute. So again, what this is doing is when we want to spawn a footprint, so when this anim notify fires off, it's going to call this event, which is obviously where we're going to then spawn the footprints. So now we need to make the code for spawning them. So we've got where we want to spawn them, when we want to spawn them. Now we need to put it all together and actually spawn them. So to do that, we're going to compile, save, and go back to our third person character blueprint. Go to the event graph here. We'll just find some space. So I think here's good. I'm just going to right click. I'm going to add a custom event. I'm going to call this one spawn footprint L, so spawning the left footprint. Out of this, what I want to do, I want to spawn actor from class, with the class obviously being our footprint L BP, like so. The spawn transform, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and split the structure pin. Then for the location, obviously we found out where we want that to be, so I'm going to drag and drop a reference to our foot L from the top left up there. Come out of this, I'm going to get world location. So I'm going to get the location of that foot reference in the world when we want to spawn it. Return value will go into the spawn transform location there. The rotation is just going to be our actor rotation, so we're going to get actor rotation. So whichever way the player is facing, return value will go in there like that. The spawn transform scale, what I found to be a good value was 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. So if you're using a different size texture or material, you might want to change that for you. But for me, this is going to be quite good, and this works perfectly. So again, you can mess about with that to get it perfect for you if you're using different textures. And so that is all it's going to do. So what it's going to do is it's just going to spawn the left footprint at the location of the left foot with the rotation of the player and at 0.1 scale. So now we can just select all that, Control-C, Control-V to duplicate it down here, and we've got the left footprint, and this one with the right footprint. So select the custom event, call this spawn footprint R, like that, compile it, and we're just going to change this foot L reference here to be our foot R, and then also change the spawn actor, so change the class from footprint L to be footprint R, like that, compile and save, and that's that part working. So I'm just going to select all this, hit C to comment it, and call this spawn player footprints, like that. Expand that comment a bit, compile and save. So now we want to call these events. And so this is going to be back in the animation blueprint. So you can see here we got our character reference. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out of this, we're going to call function spawn footprint L, plug that in there, come out of this bottom one again, call function spawn footprint R. So now every time this animation is notified, it's going to call that event, which is going to spawn the footprint. So now we should be able to see this working perfectly. So if I compile and save this, minimize and hit play to test it, you see if we start running about, we're going to get these footprints spawning. So you can see these footprints are spawning like so. If we wait 10 seconds, they're going to start fading out perfectly with a 5-second duration on that delay, and then they will be deleted afterwards. You can see up in the top right corner we have the footprints, and you can see them getting deleted like that. So you can see this working perfectly. You can see them kind of fading out as well. Obviously you can increase the fade duration to get it better for you. But that works absolutely perfectly, and this looks great. We have our footprint spawning in. And again, obviously you can change this so that it's on different animations, change the texture, change the duration of everything to make it look a lot better for you. But you can see they just follow us absolutely everywhere we go, and this is great. You can see they go up the stairs like that as well. Because it's a decal, that's how they work. So I think that'll be it for this video, as I've done everything I wanted to do. We've created a footprint system in which we can change it so we have either snowy footprints, muddy footprints, grass, sand, anything that you choose, and they're going to spawn directly underneath our feet at the correct time that we want. So when the foot is on the floor, it's going to spawn them at the correct location, and they will be deleted afterwards after a set amount of time so that it doesn't lag out the game. And as you can see, this is looking great. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, make sure to like and subscribe down below. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.